Hello everyone, this is Doxy Mom and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't done so already, I greatly appreciate if you'd hit that little red subscribe button. You can ring the bell for notifications, and if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up. Well, Indy and we're here to bring you the news in 15 minutes or less, so let's get started. Now, we're going to start out with the tweet from Juanita Broderick, and she says that the Democrats are sickening with their rants about ICE raids, saying it's inhumane. Okay then, let's call it what it really is, a slap on the wrist for breaking our laws and a free ride back home. Well, that sounds about right to me, doesn't it to you? Now, according to OAN, and I'll leave a link, the ICE agents, they began their raid on the illegal aliens in New York City and other jurisdictions, and they're primarily going after the aliens that have been served removal orders. And, 3% have already just voluntarily showed up for the the removal proceedings. And now, President Trump, he said that they're focusing on rounding up the criminals and the ones just coming in illegally, since there are people who have been waiting for up to 10 years to become a citizen the legal way. Guys, they've taken tests, they've learned English, which they should, in my opinion. But, of course, all those crazy protesters, now I already told you about them taking down the American flag and raising the Mexican flag over in Colorado. Well, guess what else they did? Guys, they confiscated, which in my world is another word for stole, allegedly, a Blue Lives Matter flag. Then they desecrated it. They spray painted "Abolish ICE" on that flag. And then they hung it upside down. Oh my goodness. Now, like I said in my last video, if you love Mexico so much, then just move there. I hear it's very nice. And you want to know how I heard that? Well, now some of you may know that it takes me forever to upload a video. I mean, 5 hours to upload a 10-minute video is just ridiculous. So, I called AT&T again, and they're going to send out their 4th technician in less than a month, and hopefully they're going to fix the problem. But when I called AT&T, I spoke to the nicest little young man, and guess where he lived? He lives in Mexico, right at the border. So I just asked him about what was going on down there, and he said when those first caravans came through that, people went out and just tried to help the people. Well, then they started taking advantage of the nice Mexicans' help, and it just turned into a big old mess for the poor Mexicans. But it seems to have stopped. He says now he doesn't see any caravans coming through, and ever since Mexico put their troops at our border and their border down below, well, it seems like that's at least stopped that flow from coming in. But I asked him if he liked living in Mexico, and he said he sure did. So, the people down there, if they've come across the border and they don't like our U.S. facilities, well, nobody's holding them there. They can just, they can go home, and I bet if they ask nicely, they'll even get a bus ticket home. So, anyway, but I'll leave a link to that article, and I need to move on to the 4 freshmen in Congress. They call them the squad, which consists of that crazy AOC from New York, and didn't she just audition for the job? And then, of course, there's Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, and didn't she marry her brother and then file tax returns with the man she was living with? I think she's in all kinds of trouble. And then there is that Rashida Tlaib from Michigan with her potty mouth and that awful thing she called our president. And then Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts, and she calls President Trump the occupant because he's just occupying space. My word, these women are so disrespectful, and that's why President Trump, well, he just went on a Twitter storm, and I'll leave a link to his Twitter. You can read about it yourself, but just to sum it up, this is what he said. He says they are anti-Israel, pro-Al-Qaeda, socialist that use foul language and spew racist hatred out of their mouths. These radical leftist congresswomen have made Israel feel abandoned by the United States. And guys, you know we have to protect Israel because those are God's chosen people. And that these 4 women, they need to apologize to Israel. They need to apologize to the United States for their disgusting actions. And if they aren't happy here, well, they can leave. But if they hate our country and they aren't good for the Democrat Party, and what you know what I say? I say you tell them, President Trump, because good Lord above, we just ask you that these 4 awful women either change their ways and get voted out, and or both. That would be great. Thank you, Jesus. Now, moving on. Some stories just make my blood boil, guys. Okay, now let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Guys, he isn't very happy these days. Apparently, he's really wanting out of that prison cell that, you know, I told you about. Apparently, there's mice down there with him. Oh, poor little Jeffrey. Anyway, he is offered $100 million in bail money. Well, the judge, he's delayed his decision until Thursday, and I'll be letting you know when I find out what that is. But here's a man who just thinks that he can buy his way out of everything and anything. Now, guys, we have to pray that the judge denies his bail, because allegedly last year, Epstein tried to influence witnesses after discovering he paid a total of $350,000 to 2 individuals, including a former employee. So that's one reason to keep him in jail. Now, if he stays in jail and he really wants out, which he does, he probably is going to start singing like a bird. Where have we heard that from before? And so he needs to stay in jail. And the prosecutors, when they went to his house, they found a bag of diamonds and an old passport at Epstein's residence that he didn't turn in. So you can't tell me that he won't run to the nearest non-extradition country and live off his billions and his diamonds if they give him bail. Now, that's just my opinion, and I'll leave a link, but we got to pray hard that that judge will keep him in jail. Now, guys, I couldn't hardly believe it when I read this next story from the Washington Times, but on Friday, July 12th, the House of Representatives moved to make military commissions at Gitmo more transparent by allowing proceedings to be broadcast online. And it was offered, you're not going to believe this, by Adam Schiff. Shocker, I know. But the amendment was included in the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act, and it was passed by the House. And mainly for now is for relatives of 9/11 victims, because the only way to see the proceedings is to fly down to Cuba and watch it by the closed circuit TV. Now, Adam Schiff, he said, and I quote, "The military commission at Guantanamo has been out of sight and therefore out of mind for far too long," end quote. Well, I agree with you, Mr. Schiff, for once in my life. So, the Senate has a version they've passed. The House has a version they've passed. They got to get together and bring a version together, present it to the president. And guys, how great will it be to see all the corrupt people get what's coming to them live online? Because people besides 9/11, they'll be going to Gitmo. This is fascinating, guys. Now, I got some more great news. Tom Fenton with Judicial Watch, he announced that 250,000 inactive voters from Kentucky will be removed. And this is in addition to the 1.6 million being removed from California's rolls. Who knows? Between these names coming off and many in Hollywood, they're going down after Epstein and NXIVM and all that comes out. Guys, California, it could actually turn red. What do you think about that? Now, a judge will now decide, this is big, guys, whether Johnson & Johnson is to blame for the opioid crisis. Apparently, there's been a 7-week trial in Oklahoma, and it came to a close on Monday. Now, Oklahoma's Attorney General Mike Hunter said that Johnson & Johnson was was financially liable for the crisis under the state's nuisance law, and they're suing for $17 billion. 17, isn't that an interesting number? To fix the state's opioid crisis. Now, this case could be the blueprint for the nearly 2,000 other pending cases like it across the country. Big Pharma has been prophesied that it is going down, and it sounds like this could be the start of it all, and I'll keep you posted. So, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please share my content. It's free. And until next time, I'm Doxy Mom, and God bless you all.